The story begins in the bustling city of Pattaya, Thailand, where we are introduced to a man named Richie. It was revealed that Richie is one of those borrowers who has a knack for evading debt collectors, but this time his luck runs out. He is caught by the very people he's been dodging. The story then shifts to a senior debt collector named Bo, who has a rather unconventional method for dealing with difficult borrowers. He uses everyday objects, flower pots, plates, glasses, anything made of glass, to inflict harm on himself, a tactic designed to intimidate borrowers into paying up. Despite his tough exterior, Bo harbors a conscience. Unbeknownst to his colleagues, he often goes out of his way to assist borrowers who are genuinely struggling. This is evident in how he treats Richie, offering him an additional loan to help him find a new job. Shortly after, Bo meets Juan, his boss and the leader of their group. Apparently, Juan runs a small, inconspicuous shop, a front to avoid drawing too much attention. Despite earning a decent income, Bo feels unappreciated, especially when it comes to his family, particularly his father. Bo has an older brother named Ek, who runs a barbershop. Ek's financial struggles often lead to emotional outbursts from his wife, which in turn frustrates Bo. The next day, Bo visits a street vendor to collect a debt. Understanding the vendor's predicament, Bo waits patiently until late at night. When no customers show up, Bo, feeling pity, buys all the vendor's goods. The following day, Bo returns to collect the debt, but finds the vendor unconscious in his home. At the hospital, Bo is approached by Im, the vendor's daughter. With the borrower now hospitalized, Juan instructs Bo to discuss the debt with him. However, before Bo can approach her, Im flees, unwilling to be entangled in her father's financial troubles. Determined, Bo, accompanied by his colleague Pad, tails him wherever she goes. They soon discover that Im works at a prestigious bank, a fact that suggests she should have no trouble settling her father's debt. When Im is about to leave the hospital, Bo is already there, ready to collect the debt and negotiate a repayment plan. Upon returning to her apartment, Im receives a call from Bo, who informs her of the total debt her father owes. However, Im remains indifferent, citing the lack of official loan documents. Undeterred, Bo confronts him at her workplace, sabotaging the queue system to prolong their conversation. This public confrontation leaves him both irritated and embarrassed in front of her colleagues. With no other choice, Im finally agrees to negotiate. Shortly after, Im reveals her monthly income structure, which turns out to be far below Bo's expectations. To make matters worse, her savings over the past 2 years wouldn't even cover half of her father's debt. At that moment, Im proposes a monthly installment plan to gradually pay off the debt. However, Juan rejects the idea, leaving Bo with no choice but to pressure Im into making daily payments and surrendering her entire savings as interest. Despite Bo's insistence, Im stands firm on her proposal, forcing Bo to resort to his usual intimidation tactics to remind her of the consequences. Unfortunately, Bo's efforts fail. Im is at her wit's end, and Bo, feeling pity for her situation, comes up with an unconventional idea to help her. He devises a dating scheme, where each date is assigned a value based on the activity they do together, ranging from casual outings to more unusual ones. The value of each date would be deducted from Im's debt. It's a desperate attempt to ease her burden while keeping her accountable. The next day, Bo presents the plan to Im, but as soon as he finishes explaining, Im tears the paper to shreds, furious at the implication that she's some kind of cheap woman. However, that night, with no other options left, Im reluctantly agrees to the arrangement. From that day on, Bo becomes more focused on their dates than his work. Deep down, he's not just doing this to collect the debt. He's genuinely trying to win Im's heart. It was revealed that from the moment he first saw her, Bo had secretly begun to develop feelings for her. As time passes, Bo runs out of money and asks his employer for a raise. Unfortunately, Pad, his careless colleague, accidentally reveals about Bo's growing affection for the daughter of one of their debtors. This revelation angers Juan, who refuses to show any leniency. She demands that Bo return to his usual work routine if he wants to earn any money. With no other choice, Bo throws himself back into his work. He visits Richie and offers him advice on how to earn more money. Not stopping there, Bo also helps Saad, a borrower who runs a martial arts studio, by staging a public duel to attract more students. After a long day of work, Bo takes him on one of their usual dates. He listens patiently as she vents about her growing boredom and desire for something new. Yet, when he asks where she'd like to go, Im hesitates, acutely aware of her financial limitations. Her humility and resilience only deepen Bo's affection for her. Over time, thanks to Bo's efforts, the borrowers begin to repay their debts without the need for violence. Im, too, starts to understand Bo's true intentions, that his actions weren't just about pursuing her, but also about helping her and others in need. Slowly, she begins to develop feelings for him as well. What started as a debt collection scheme blossoms into a genuine connection, and the two eventually fall in love. Having fallen deeply in love, Im expresses her long-held desire to see the view from the top of a luxurious hotel, a dream she's never been able to fulfill due to the high cost. Determined to make it happen, Bo, who has a wide network of connections, assures her that he knows people who can help. Without hesitation, he takes her to the hotel that very day. As planned, they manage to sneak past the hotel staff and make their way to the rooftop. To save money, Bo even picks up leftover drinks from other guests. For a moment, everything feels perfect. But their joy is short-lived when two hotel security officers catch them, forcing them to leave in a hurry. A few days later, news breaks of a violent clash between two rival debt collector gangs at the beach. The fight, sparked by a dispute over potential borrowers, has left the community uneasy. Im, seeing Bo caught in the middle of the chaos, is deeply disappointed. She decides she no longer wants to see him. Feeling the sting of her rejection, Bo drowns his frustrations at a nightclub. When he tries to calm down, Pad mocks him, suggesting that Im is only using him. Tensions rise between the two, and a fight nearly breaks out, but their friends manage to intervene and calm them down. After making amends, another problem arises when a group of drunk patrons sitting nearby begin harassing the staff. Bo, already on edge, loses his temper. Later, still drunk and upset, Bo shows up at Im's house, convinced that Pad's words might hold some truth. In his intoxicated state, he says things he shouldn't. Im, however, emerges from her room in tears, devastated by the news that her father has passed away at the hospital. The next day, at the cremation ceremony, Bo discovers a life insurance policy that Im's father had been paying into. The payout is substantial, enough to cover all his debts. But instead of feeling relieved, Im opens up about her father's struggles. She recounts how he repeatedly failed in business, lost everything, and couldn't even afford to pay for her education. After helping him move her father's belongings, Bo prepares to leave, believing his role in her life is over. But Im, now completely alone in the world, refuses to let him go. In a moment of vulnerability, she offers him her most precious gift, herself, as a sign that she no longer wants to face life alone. Determined to start anew, takes out a loan from a nearby bank, with Bo by her side, to search for a shop space to start her own business. However, after finding a suitable location, she is forced to abandon her plans when the seller demands an exorbitant price. Not wanting to see him lose hope, Bo approaches one to ask for money. One agrees, but only if Bo can collect a particularly troublesome debt first. If successful, she promises to give him half of the amount collected. Though it pains him to disappoint him, Bo has no choice but to accept Juan's offer. He reunites with Pad, who has been sent by Juan to assist him. Their mission takes them to a gambling den, where they confront a borrower named Prazit to collect his outstanding debt. To avoid causing a scene, Bo secretly uses Im's savings to join the game. His plan is simple: double the money through gambling to meet Prazit's debt target. However, luck isn't on his side, and Bo suffers several consecutive losses. Midway through the game, Bo volunteers to shake the dice. Just then, a minor commotion erupts when Odd, who had been eating, suddenly chokes, irritating the other patrons. Once the disturbance settles, the game resumes. Bo, now desperate, bets his remaining chips on a high-stakes roll, convinced that this will turn his luck around. Miraculously, Bo begins to win repeatedly. But Prazit accuses him of cheating, prompting Bo to walk away from the table. With his winnings exceeding the target, Bo and Pad patiently wait for the cashier to exchange their chips. Unbeknownst to everyone, Bo had anticipated foul play from the start. During the earlier commotion, he had swapped the dice, a move meticulously planned with Pad's help, who manipulated the dice's outcome from outside the room. Realizing he's been outsmarted, Prazit refuses to accept defeat. He summons his men to teach Bo a lesson. A fierce brawl breaks out as Prazit's enforcers attack. Determined to protect the money, Bo attempts to leave on his motorcycle. But guilt gnaws at him as he thinks of his friends still inside. To ensure their safety, he grabs a knife before rushing back. The decision proves costly. Bo is eventually arrested and taken to the police station. Desperate, he calls Juan for help, but she refuses, unwilling to risk her business. Left with no options, Bo resigns himself to his fate. He pleads with Juan to honor their agreement and give the money to him, as he had used her savings to complete the mission. When Im discovers her savings are gone, she rushes to the police station after hearing about Bo's arrest. However, Bo, too ashamed to face her, avoids giving an explanation. Feeling betrayed and deceived, Im demands that Bo return her money as her trust in him shattered. Several years later, Bo is finally released from prison. He returns home to find his family in a drastically different state. His older brother Ek has been abandoned by his wife and daughter due to financial struggles, while their father has retired from driving his minibus due to declining eyesight. At that moment, Ek reveals a painful truth about their father. Despite seeming indifferent toward Bo, he had always been proud of him for being the most caring member of the family. In contrast, Ek admits he has always been a burden, even now, as his wife left him for failing to provide as the head of the household. With no job prospects, Bo takes over his father's old job as a minibus driver. While driving, he accidentally spots a banner advertising the upcoming election for the local council, featuring Juan as one of the candidates. Determined to avoid any further involvement with her, Bo is instead preoccupied with thoughts of him. He learns from her former colleagues at the bank that she resigned 2 years ago, overwhelmed by debt and shame. It was revealed that Im now works selling cosmetics through live streams. However, her giveaways are met with harsh criticism from viewers, as no one ever seems to win anything. Her boss, who only cares about driving sales, instructs her to ignore the negativity. Realizing that Juan never kept her promise, Bo confronts her to demand the money he is owed. But Juan dismisses him, claiming she doesn't remember any such agreement. This infuriates Bo, and Pad, now fiercely loyal to Juan, escorts him out. Refusing to give up, Bo returns with a gas canister, determined to get what he's owed. He is immediately confronted by Pad and his men, who try to stop him. The commotion draws Juan outside, and she is shocked to find her men overpowered by Bo alone. After finally securing the money, Bo contacts Im to arrange a meeting. He wants to apologize and return her money the next day. However, Im is no longer interested. That night, overwhelmed by despair, she attempts to do the unthinkable. The next day, Im now lies in a hospital bed, recovering after her attempt. Shortly after, Bo visits her and, without hesitation, hands over the money he had taken years ago. But I'm deeply hurt and disappointed, asks him to leave and never see her again. It's only then that she learns about Bo's long-term brain injury, a result of his self-destructive habit of harming himself, particularly his head. Without proper treatment, the condition could prove fatal. When Bo regains consciousness after fainting, he decides to leave, not wanting to burden Im further. He has no money left, especially for medical expenses, but Im, despite her pain, kindly offers to lend him the funds he needs. A few days later, they finally purchase the shop space Im had dreamed of. The dream becomes a reality, but at a cost. Bo refuses to undergo surgery, choosing instead to pour all his energy into building the business. His body, however, often succumbs to exhaustion from overexertion. They aren't alone in this venture. Bo and Im bring along Bo's niece, followed by Ek and his wife who have decided against divorce. They arrive with the intention of helping to speed up the process of setting up the business. It's not just family who lends a hand. Richie and Odd also show up, eager to repay Bo's past kindness. Once all the preparations are complete, they celebrate with a shared meal, a gesture of gratitude for the new beginning. As the night falls, they realize they haven't yet settled on a name for the business. Exhausted, Bo and Im decide to sleep on it and figure it out the next day. Just as Im turns off the lights and finally thinks of a name, tragedy strikes. Bo takes his last breath, passing away in that very moment. Im, who had once contemplated doing the unthinkable, is devastated by Bo's absence. But she changes her mind after discovering a letter he left behind. Inside the letter, Bo urges her to keep living, even if the road ahead is difficult to walk alone. Eventually, to honor their shared journey and his memory, Im names their business, I'm Bo, a heartfelt tribute to the love and partnership they once had. Moral lesson from the story: never solve money problems by gambling or dating, unless you want to lose both your wallet and your heart. Also, if you're going to name a business after your love story, make sure your partner doesn't fall asleep before agreeing on the name.